Hello, I'm Toycat, and YouTube's biggest exploit is probably not having a secret second audio track, because exploits come and go, but this one seems like it genuinely only benefits the viewer, and so you can switch to Klingon if you want to see this video, but from the more boomer perspective of the title, because this is my updated adventures, and I'm going to be making a nice addition today, if you would like to see it, and I'm going to be talking about how Let's Plays have bloated and changed in three main ways. But first, an important reminder, there are going to be some references, including some things that show up on screen, that are actually for the second track of this video, so if you'd rather watch that, you can switch now, or you can watch it afterwards, and it's kind of like two Let's Plays in one. Isn't that fun? Anyway, I'm going to talk about the exploits and whether it really is an exploit in that version, but today I'd just like to say, hello, I'm Toycat, and yes, indeed, I've been making videos like they are still 2012, and I've been doing that in this same Let's Play world that is now 14 years old, so I know a thing or two about how the Let's Play scene has evolved around this, and also about how this world has evolved around me, and one of the big evolutions is going to happen today, one of the big last few things that is in the original size world, and it is all going to tie into this weird little tunnel. Just trust as I go through this, but let's start with my first big point about how Let's Plays have changed, and it's the most visible thing you'll notice as a viewer. Let's Plays don't call themselves Let's Plays anymore. In fact, Let's Plays don't even have numbers anymore. This is something that I think every viewer can notice, especially those who have been watching Minecraft videos since the early days. It used to be that you were almost excited to call your video a Let's Play, and it seems as though the exact opposite is true now, which is really odd, right? That content went from being actively trying to call itself a Let's Play, even if it almost specifically wasn't, to the exact opposite world. And why is that true? Well, I think the most interesting theory on this comes from Mumbo Jumbo, who explains that in the modern YouTube algorithm, where you're trying to have banger after banger, because YouTube isn't about casual, YouTube isn't about predictable, reliable content anymore. Instead, it's about trying to get a new audience in every video. And so if you're trying to do that, then there's a problem with numbering them all, because
as with any series, episode 1 will perform the best, and then the viewership gradually declines.
This is something I'm sure you've noticed with any TV show or any long-form thing you watch. If you try to make a series that depends on the previous episode having been watched, then all it takes is for someone to not watch an episode, and then they don't really want to watch the next. This is something TV shows struggled for a long time to deal with. It's the fact that, say, shows like Friends dealt with it is one of the reasons why they're so successful. You don't need to know what happened last show to know that the friends are going to hang out and they're going to have a good time this episode. This is a big part of making something successful, and so having Let's Play episode 10 is just going to guarantee that your viewers know that they probably shouldn't watch it if they haven't also watched episode 9, 8, 7, and 6, and that is a big problem, especially when, like me, you get to episode 651, I think this would be. And so what is the solution? Well, weirdly, the solution is not to make Let's Plays. Modern YouTubers, especially SMP content, which if I'm not mistaken, indeed Mumbo Jumbo is even a part of, modern SMP content largely relies not on calling itself an episode or a season or anything like that, but instead simply says, here is some crazy thing that happened, and when you click the video, you'll find out that it is part of this broader storyline if you choose to follow it. This is a nice middle ground, but another nice middle ground is also the idea of using days played, something that Mumbo himself even called out. I think that this is the kind of serialization that people like, but instead of days, unlike a Let's Play where it counts up and it's clear that there's a numbered format, the days played argument is just like, yeah, you survive 100 days in the world, then 200 days, and then like 1,000, and people are clear that it's the same world because you say that the number of days survived has gone up. It's all about the type of content, it's about the spectacle, it's about what you say you're doing inside of it, which is kind of cool, I guess we could say. I don't think I want to go this way, actually. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go upwards, although I'll go upwards by making a big area like this, because I want to make a big tunnel that connects this to the next thing that I'm making here, and I want to do it in almost kind of cramped conditions, which seems silly, but you'll have to follow me with that. Just like how you have to follow me into my second point, which is like, okay, Let's Plays don't want to call themselves Let's Plays anymore, so even if there's just as much desire to create them, or even to watch them, it means that you've got to be careful about what you call them and how. Okay, that's true, but the second big problem is that Let's Plays can't be small stakes anymore. As big and as true as it is that I am simply working on a nice tunnel that will make my world so much more enjoyable for me as I go across it, because now there are different options for me to get around it, and different options for me to decorate, and things for me to actually do. The truth is that although this can be very true, the reality on the ground is that many people find it to be a little bit weird to watch a video that's just like, I made a house. Not a particularly good house, but a house nonetheless. That feels strange to many. And this small stakes death of YouTube is something that really, loses the Let's Play, because for a true Let's Play, the raw, unfiltered, here's what I did in my world today, you kind of need to be able to show people the raw and unfiltered, what you did in your world today, which is not always going to be this revolutionary sorting system or this revolutionary anything. Instead, sometimes you just spend a day making a nice little tunnel with some ladders, and it's 2 blocks wide like it used to be. It's, sometimes that's all you do. But actually, that's the beauty of Minecraft, a beauty that isn't represented by, I guess you could argue, the same algorithm, but also by viewers' expectations. When there are as many Minecraft videos on the platform as there are, it's almost ridiculous to say that, yes, I spent some time making my house a bit prettier today, instead of, say, making a mega project in your world. That would be the more realistic thing to go for. Also, we are still a little bit away from the top of the mountain, which makes this not the perfect place to come up. I was hoping to come up somewhere around where my bridge is, or at least near something that can connect to my bridge, because I want this, I want all of these disparate parts of my world to come together into at least a slightly traversable system. So I want this to connect to that tunnel that I was just in, so that this bridge makes sense. I mean, it still doesn't quite make sense, but it's there'll be a way to get to it that makes sense. And then also it's going to connect to this, which is one of my biggest areas of confusion and half-finishedness that we'll be completing for the sake of vibrant visuals today. But yeah, is that a big stakes thing, that I'm taking one of the biggest areas of my world that's been unfinished and turning it into something beautiful? In fact, do you want to see what it looks like right now? If I play my world with fancy graphics on, then what happens when I'm over here and I see this is like, okay, yeah, there's a hole over there, but I'm sure that's something weird you're working on. But if we look at it with vibrant visuals, which is, of course, how we're going to be doing this many times, and indeed an increasing amount of time as this becomes more and more the standard. But if I look at it with vibrant visuals, you can see like, oh yeah, there's a big dark cave there. A big opportunity to do something with lighting. I think that is fair. So what are we going to do with that? Well, we'll talk about that as we now come back into this. Oh, I'll leave vibrant visuals on for the rest of this episode, because I think it's a nice little touch here. But we're also going to continue our touch by going on this way, probably about another 30 blocks deeper into the mountain. We'll have maybe an exit here if we want to have one for later. But for now, we're just continuing on, staying just below the surface as we go deeper in. Anyway, speaking of going deeper in, I think we should go deeper into the idea that Let's Plays aren't just problematically filled with not being able to call themselves Let's Plays. Let's Plays don't just have a problem of marketing and a problem of what we could call the stakes that are required, which arguably is marketing again, but I would also say that Let's Plays can't really be about discovery anymore. Back in the day, the reason every YouTuber had a Let's Play was because it was I think I went too far. The reason every YouTuber had a Let's Play was because it was a way to discover the game and to be open and honest about the fact that, like, I don't know, but let's work it out together. It was fun to watch YouTubers first playing the game and discovering it, at least for those who already knew, and for those who didn't, it was fun to have someone who was at the same level of knowledge as them. However, nowadays, if you are an established YouTuber, genuinely in any niche, if you tell me that you make YouTube videos about basketball, I'm still going to be shocked to learn that you've never played Minecraft. The number of YouTubers I've spoken to in entirely different niches who love Minecraft Pocket Edition and played it all the time back in the day, you would be shocked at just how high a number that is, and it sounds like almost a bit of a joke, but it is very true, I can assure you. Okay, so this brings us up here. I'll actually move the ladder to the side here, just to make it clearer which direction to go with this. See, look at that, nice little touch. But also horrifying, the way that cow looked a second ago. And now, with just a little bit of a pathway on the ground, because right now there's pathway blocks that are here for the sake of snow prevention rather than anything else, we can tie up to this bridge and have this viewpoint actually have some meaning. But there's another thing that requires some meaning today, and it's this big old nether portal right here. Because now that I've gotten all of this stone, I can finally complete this. My vision here was simple. I wanted to have a cave that looked like you were going into the nether. Just a big, dramatic, big old portal block. And so I'm going to relight mine on fire by actually filling this in and making it look like it is a real port on the sides. There's a few gaps that need to be filled that I've just been putting off for literally years now, but rather than putting it off for even more years, why don't we actually just do something here? Why don't we actually just make this good? Because this is an easy problem to solve, right? This is a very easy problem to solve. Let's solve it. But I think that the easiest problem to solve in Let's Plays would be like, if they are something that everyone loves, then all you've got to do is simply support and watch the ones that you want to, and boom, the problem is solved, right? This is what I think the real third problem is, because we can say it's about the fact that, like, everyone knows the game a little bit now, but actually it's about the fact that everyone likes to blame, the setup. I think it's very common to say, like, oh man, there is this terrible, terrible algorithm that keeps feeding me things I don't like. But when you say that, and it is true, and I feel this way, and I'll say this myself too, when you say that, you are depriving yourself of the agency to actually be the one who decides whether or not you watch the algorithm when it feeds you the terrible, terrible things that you don't want to see. You are the one who decides ultimately what it is that you watch and what it is that's recommended to you. And so even though Let's Plays fundamentally need to have changed, because now everyone knows the game, and now, people appreciate that, like, smaller stakes are something that are harder to attract people's attention with, it's down to you as a viewer at some point to say that, what do I want to watch? I need to be the one to go out and find it. Because even though if you start right now, you probably won't find a bunch of content in the exact style you're looking for. Also, look how beautiful it looks, especially at night with all this bright out here. I think there's a weird gap above it. It looks like almost that should be a portal, or that should be covered up, or that it should definitely be something. But you can see there is a bit of a flaw there, but doesn't it look so much nicer now than it did before? I think so. I think that my broad take here is that because YouTube viewers aren't seeking it, the real sign is that looking for content like it was in the old day is not actually something that is a failure of YouTube or a failure of YouTubers, as much as I would love to take the blame myself. Although, actually, I don't think I take any of the blame. I still make content like it's 2012. The truth is, it kind of is down to what YouTube viewers expect now. Covering 100 days in a single video is not some weird edge case thing, but instead something you can see hundreds of examples of. You couldn't watch every 100-day recap from a YouTuber with more than 1,000 subscribers, and that's before we consider the number of ones made by people with fewer than that. There is a choice problem on YouTube, and how they solve that is something that is very hard to work out on a platform level, but on an individual level, all you can do is click the videos you'd like to see more of, and hopefully that will create a platform that has more of them. Or maybe you'll just stop seeing the stuff that you hate more. But in either case, it seems like a good solution. If you enjoyed this video, consider watching it and cling on to see the second track, where instead of me being optimistic and talking about how I think that YouTube's change is kind of a sign that we have more content and more choices, and realistically, it's a sign of how YouTube has replaced TV, and for many people that makes it a comfortable viewing source. If you'd like to instead see my more boomer take, the kind of immediate reaction, then you can see that in the old Klingon track, as well as why it is that you saw those random references on screen in this video, because I've been OVX Toycat. I hope you all enjoyed episode 651, and I look forward to seeing you next week for 652. I'm pretty sure it'll be 652. Also, you can become a channel member if you want to see a half episode that's special, but by now you should have switched to Klingon, so goodbye.